Hey ladies, this quick video will be how we will create assignments and then navigate to settings within the assignment. As you open up your Canvas template that has been imported into your classroom, you're going to notice there's first off the gray aspect here is just the module, and then Callie has the assignment header. But you're not going to reflect to this right now. What we're going to look at is the gray aspect here. Over on the right-hand side, there's a plus sign. Click the plus sign, and the first thing that's going to become available is assignment. And then you just click it, and it looks like I have already put some in here. I've had some internet issues, so things are getting a little wonky. She has this indented to one level. So you'll notice that it's inserted, it's all aligned with the others. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to open up the settings within. Here's where you're going to insert the content that you've designed with your SME, purpose, parameters, prompt, etc. She does have these set to our 12 font. I believe that has not changed. There is where you'll establish the points. And because we have not, as a university, determined that we're going to be different types of groups, where there's a 30% for discussion and a 30% for assignments, I think we're leaving them all in assignments. So just make sure that's there, displayed as points. And this stuff becomes natural. This is not something you have to worry about too much. However, this submission type is the important key. If the student is putting in a paper, you're going to have them online, and there could be a text entry where they can actually put a comment right in the submission box, a website URL. That means if they're creating a Google Drive or a YouTube link, anything like that. And media recordings can be those that don't have actual links for them, but the website URL as well as YouTube presentations from students can both work sufficiently. The student annotation is just when our students are working with one another. That means it just picks up the students' work outside of the actual students, so that it can show the two different versions. And then the file uploads. Often it's just going to be the file upload. One thing to think about is if you're restricting any types of files. Generally, that's not necessary, but you can restrict the PDF, the Excel, whatever it is. But I don't think we need to break that up into that at this time. How many submission types, or attempts, that's really depends on if this is a rough draft or what you're looking at. The plagiarism review, we need to turn it in, and this is where you're going to make sure that turn it in is selected, and then all the pieces that we want selected here. And then you can save these settings so that it doesn't have to be updated every time. Then show the report to students immediately, or you can choose whichever. We all know that that's immediately. If it's a group assignment, you will have to have the groups created. That is not this week, so I don't want to jump into too many pieces. So we will talk about groups next week. So I'm going to undelete that or uncheck that. And then requiring peer reviews. So if they're working in groups or needing peer reviews, that's something to be established. We can talk about how that works one-on-one. And then of course, if you want to have students grading each other without knowing whose is whose, you can do that. One of the things I like here is we have the due dates. We obviously in a master, we want to leave that blank. But what is nice for faculty is if they have one specific student, they can just reassign that student. Then you want to save and publish after everything has been put in here. Now, here is the rubric. The rubric is not part of this lesson per se, but let's just quickly go over it because I know some of you guys build your rubrics as you're building your assignment details. One thing to keep in mind is definitely give your rubric a name. You could reuse these rubrics across the board. So it's very nice if you're very organized with them. We know that we have the basic generic rubrics used in Blackboard now, so those would be very beneficial to have a clear defined name. Here's the deal, you gotta put the description, and then whatever long description we want in there, that's just like a topic. Now, one thing we do is the range, so we don't have to figure out the range per se, but if we want to, update rating, sorry, I thought I could fill this out without having to add in a bunch of stuff. So however many we want to add, if we have the 5 categories, just fill in information. If we have the 5 different categories, then we'll have to appease them accordingly. Something that we also will look at is making double criterion. So if we want to just duplicate a piece, a section, or rebuild entirely. So you can update this by giving it a new title, giving new information. It doesn't need to be staying the same, but if you want a new one, you can add criterion and just new criterion altogether, and you don't have to have the duplicated information. I tend to favor the duplicate because sometimes the verbiage within these ratings are very similar, and it removes that extra work. And then I can just adjust the specific verbiage to be according to what is in that topic or that criteria. All right, so yeah, if you want to double that, go ahead and double the criteria, duplicate it, then you can change the points as you would like to do so. And that changes accordingly. Some of the things that you want to think about, the write free form comments when assessing students. Sometimes it's nice to have the faculty be able to do that. We have to decide on these pieces. So I'm not going to jump into these until we have Callie's input, but to get the rubrics going, it's very straightforward. Now, there you go, it's saved. The students will be able to see it. Whoops. Okay, now it wants to take me on a tour. All right, so you can see I did not put any fancy in there. The student has the ability to submit and everything is good. If there are any other questions on that, let's talk about it during our meeting.